Hi, welcome to my channel. On this channel, I take esoteric alchemic astrology and I decipher it into our real time and starting to help other people see the illusion that is being mirrored back at us and how it really just represents the sky and the cycles of the planets. And it's really fun because you guys are starting to send me stuff, and then of course I'm like, oh my god, everybody else is seeing it now. And I just, at the beginning of my videos, I like to just go through what's happened recently and then in the news, and then we can get into looking at future dates and seeing when things are going to really heat up towards this spiritual revolution that is happening on the planet. Now, this Princess Diana statue was unveiled, I think yesterday or the day before. And she's in between two towers, and Harry and William are standing there like they're on the towers. She's in the middle, and of course there's two children, boy and a girl, and they're, which is the Trinity, right? So this is representing the middle path. And I've done videos on the Princess Diana's death, and you can go back and look at them. I think it was over a year ago, and where she's buried on a lake with the swans and the oak trees, and how she was actually referred to as being the goddess Diana at her funeral in her eulogy. So she represents the goddess Diana, which is the sister of Apollo. It was one of my subscribers that sent me all this, and there's also showing here that it's on like a pond. So again, like the Washington Monument, because it's always like the nectar of the gods, the pond. It refers back to Lincoln. It's Len in Welsh, which means pond. Okay, so this is why the pond is always there with these symbolic statues. They mentioned the number 24 because it's saying that her life was cut short in a car crash almost 24 years ago. They had to bring the number 24 in because this is what actually my whole video is about, the year 2024, and how it all ties into the dragon crown year in Chinese astrology. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of an education on how Chinese astrology correlates to Western astrology and what we're looking at in the cycles that have happened in the United States, because the United States represents the new kingdom. Washington used to be called Rome, so it has huge references, and of course all the founding fathers, well, most of them from the United States, were Welsh, and they were trying to get away from the British control for freedom, right? So they represent freedom. USA represents the freedom path. The original Roman sanctuary had Diana there and Apollo. Apollo is the father of Asclepius, who is the Ophiuchus constellation, the 13th constellation, the man holding the snake, who teaches humanity how to be free from this realm. Okay, so they're twins, Apollo and Diana. So you can see all the planets are there as well. So she represents Princess Diana, which really has a symbolic meaning to the moon. Okay, so she's the moon because Artemis, Princess Diana, that is her symbol, is the moon. Also the lake and lanterns, like people holding torches around the lake. This is all Princess Diana or Goddess Diana. So Diana represents the moon and Apollo represents the sun. He also presides over music, songs, dance, and poetry. So very much like Asclepius and Chiron, like the knowledge of freedom is through song and dance and poetry. And this all ties into the muses. And it's to do with your frequency in your body. The lar was made out of a tortoise shell, which is one of the Chinese main symbols, right? It's the dragon, the tortoise, the tiger, and the vermilion bird, which is like the phoenix. So Apollo is relating to the lar, same as Orpheus is in his mythology. And then it's saying here that he is the sun. So he's really Helios. The Polio Helios, he became identified among Greeks with Helios. So he is the sun, right? So he's the sun, Diana's the moon. They're twins. So it was so funny. I did the video about the dragon year, right, in 2024, and then this pops up the next day. Meet Dragon Man, the latest addition to the human family tree. So they're saying Asia and China is, important to the human story, which is true because it's all tying into Chinese astrology, which is really what Freemason represents. I've done videos on that before with constellation Norma, with that being the level and the compass, and this all goes back to Chinese, the Fusi and Nusi. They were holding the level and the compass. So everything goes back to Chinese astrology. It's the original astrology. They say they named him the Dragon Man because he was found on the Black Dragon River. So there's others astrologers noticing that this is an important time period. Buckle up. Beginning of 2021, the Earth and other planets will begin moving into a planetary alignment that last happened in 79 AD. This alignment will accumulate in 2024, and when Earth's gravitational pull by the Sun will be canceled out as Earth moves directly between an aligned Jupiter and Saturn, and in a magnetic field created by the alignment. Also in 2023-24, there will also be a square of Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and Uranus. The last time this happened was sometime between 536 to 578 AD. So what else is saying here, which was a very dark period of systematic activity, revolution, war, and death. In addition, in 2023, Pluto will move into an area marked by the constellation Aquarius. That's in tropical. It's actually in sidereal. It's going into Capricorn, which they're both ruled by Saturn, so, which is associated with electrical technology. He wonders about involving the 5G. Change, rebellion, revolution, as seen the last time Pluto was in this position, the American Revolution. So yeah, I know this is when I spoke to you guys about this. He has a cycle of 247 years, and this is going back to the beginning of the founding of the United States. Okay, this is why it's so important. That's the the Blackwater Rabbit year in 2023. Then on April 8th, 2024, a solar eclipse will cover over America. Combined with these other planetary configurations, the San Andreas or the New Madrid earthquake faults may be triggered, and a super volcano in Yellowstone to create volcanic winter. All of this will occur as the sun continues decreasing its output due to grand solar minimum, which has already begun, which is when it creates a CME, which is what activates DNA with the gamma rays to help with ascension. So it's like chaos has to happen for this new time to transform into, right? It's not just going to be a smooth thing. It's going to be quite chaotic. But Pluto, I think it's in 2024, on January 6th, it moves into Capricorn in sidereal. So that's like Odin's Wild Hunt Day, the same as the Capitol building event happened on January 6th on Odin's Wild Hunt Day, right? So lots of things going on in the 2023 and 2024. So on October 14th, we have the eclipse going across like western United States in 2023. And that eclipse is actually on the Spica star, which is the Washington Monument in Virgo. And then we had the 2017 one that went across, through St. Louis, the Silver Gate. And then in 2024, which is what I started my whole YouTube channel all about, was all this, that I believed that this event was going to happen in 2024. And it's so weird because I got off the date because of the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, which I thought Kepler was tracking. And then now I'm getting back to that date again, and it's coming right back full circle to what I originally thought. So it's like, but now I have the information and the Chinese astrology backing it all up. So this is really cool because it confirms it. And of course, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that's happening right after this USA eclipse that goes through St. Louis in 2024, that's on April 8th, and then the conjunction with Jupiter and Uranus is on April 20th, 21, 22. So this is important, and this is why they have the Olympic logo as the Jupiter alchemic symbol in 2024. Everything has to do with Jupiter, but it's Jupiter and Uranus, not Jupiter and Saturn. So I just wrote these out for you so you guys can see it. October 14th, USA eclipse on the Spica star in Virgo, Washington Monument, which really represents the Sigillaria tree, Odin and Osiris, right? They're all the tree of life. October 17th to November 3rd is the Osiris festival, and the full moons tie into this on that year. It doesn't on other years. And October 28th is the full moon, and this ties into the Danny Darko and Halloween and all this with the rabbit, right? Because the whole Danny Darko movie was all to do with the rabbit. And that's all to do with jumping timelines. November 1st is All Saints' Day. And the festival goes from October 17th to November 3rd, which is why they have the elections always on November 3rd. It's part of the Osiris festival. So Pluto is a huge part of all of this. He's the ruler of the underworld, and he allowed Persephone to spend half the time being immortal and half the time being mortal. So he was like the keeper of the underworld, and he's also the soul. He's your soul, and your soul polarity is to do with the placement of Pluto in your chart, and the opposing sign has to do with your soul's journey. So Pluto is really all to do with your soul. He rules Scorpio. Scorpio is to do with death and transformation, and it's the upper house of Scorpio is Ophiuchus, which is the doorway in Freemasonry. Okay, so Pluto is huge to do with your soul. Now, Pluto has a 247-year cycle, which is exactly when the United States was founded, to 2024. And he's going back into Capricorn, where he was on the founding of the United States. And I put this together so that you could see, because I can't pull up Pluto and Capricorn line, and you can see he's just going into Capricorn on January 6th in 2024. Now, I can't find this in print anywhere. It's only Stellarium that's telling me this, because I guess, I don't know, it's just not showing. No other astrologer is showing that Pluto is moving into Capricorn at this time. He is, they're saying he's going into Aquarius in tropical, or they're saying he's already in Capricorn in sidereal. But Stellarium doesn't lie. It's the actual sky. So I am saying that this is going, a really significant time is the beginning of 2024 is when this is happening. So 2024 is huge, and I'm going to tell you other reasons why it's so big as well in this video. So here's showing the Pluto placement is in the exact same place as in 2024. It took this whole cycle, 247 years, to get back to this location. And this is when they were fighting for freedom. Okay, so this is about freedom of the soul, and we're just mirroring history all over again. But it's almost like what came first, the chicken or the egg. Like they knew that this event was going to happen at this time, and then they mirrored it all to align with the exact same planetary placement, like their whole freedom fight from the British. Or is it like vice versa, like we're just following history? It's like time doesn't exist. It's like forward, backwards. It's all the same. It's just cycles. Persephone is right close to the Pleiades on the founding date of the United States. Uranus in Taurus. Mars in the Silver Gate, which is war, to do with the Silver Gate, which has to do with recycling your soul, kind of coming back to this realm, goes through the Silver Gate. Your freedom goes through the Golden Gate. So there was war with the recycling of the soul. And of course, Uranus is heaven. That Mars is actually on the Crab Nebula, which the crab is like the moon, and that's where Trump was born. In 2024, the conjunction with Uranus-Jupiter is just on the shoulder of Taurus. Later in the year, they both move into Taurus. This is explaining how Chinese astrology all relates around the planet Jupiter and its 12-year cycle. It's 11 to 12-year cycle. So I just wanted to show you how the importance of Jupiter is to Chinese mythology. Now, Jupiter is like the god of this realm, right? So he's the one that rules this realm. The moon nodes are an important element in Chinese astrology. In addition to the movement of the planets, ancient stargazers are considered particular astronomical events such as eclipses to be important. So yeah, Confucius said the patterns revealed in the heavens set an example for the rulers to follow. Chinese astrology is very much oriented towards making predictions, as the sign which rules over any particular year is considered to be dominant. So the fact that we have 3 major eclipses happening in the United States within a 7-year period, and them all crossing at 2 of them crossing at St. Louis, and the other one being on the Washington Monument Star, the Spica Star, is really important. Like, this is a really, really important time, and we have to understand that Pluto being back in the same placement as the founding of the United States, we're just repeating all the same emotions coming right back again for the souls, the souls that have lived through that time before. We're back here again, and we're living through it again. Here's the one on October 14th, right before the Osiris Festival in 2023, the year of the water black rabbit. We have Enki right, close to Palmyra star, and then we have Mercury and the eclipse right on the Washington Monument Spica star. And Persephone is almost in conjunction with it as well. And she's like the queen to Pluto. She's Circe's daughter that actually got raped by Pluto. I really like how this graph is showing how the elements of the Chinese years works. You can see like there's 2 in a row with the same element, and then it switches. But the repetitive pattern is every 60 years. Okay, so if you have a wood dragon year in 2024, which it is, it has to go back 60 years for it to have repeating, cycle. So in 1964 was the last wood dragon year. So we're kind of like experiencing the 60s all over again, plus with Pluto, we're experiencing the founding of the United States, the freedom revolution all over again. So we have the freedom, going on with the 60s, and then the freedom going on with the founding of the United States. Now, this is a big key that isn't exposed very often. The metal years is Venus, ruled by Venus. The water years is ruled by Mercury. The wood years ruled by Jupiter. So the wood dragon year in 2024 is ruled by Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter is the god of this realm. It's super important. Fire is ruled by Mars, and Earth is ruled by Saturn. Try to remember this. This is really helpful in understanding astrology and how it relates to Chinese astrology. And you can work it through into your Western astrology. So I brought them back, right back to Jesus's supposedly birthday that I discussed in my last video. Now, this is 6 BC, the water rabbit year. Now, the rabbit rules Pisces. Okay, so Pisces is your souls. It's the spiritual zodiac in Western astrology, but it's the feet. So this is where we get the rabbit foot symbolism, I'm sure, is through this Chinese astrology. Now, the very first water dragon year would be ruled by Mercury, would be in 4 BC. the year '08 would have been a metal dragon year because they happen every 12 years, right? But they cycle the same element every 60. So metal dragon would be ruled by Venus. 12 years later is the year 20, and that's an earth dragon ruled by Saturn. 12 years later is the year 32, a fire dragon, which would be ruled by Mars. And then the year 44 is a wood dragon ruled by Jupiter. Now, 44 is really important in gematria. It means kill. It means, death. So this is the beginning of time. Well, not time, but, the beginning of the calendar that we use. And what's interesting, if you take 60 cycles of these wood dragon years, we're exactly at 33 cycles of them, which is the number for Freemasonry. So it's going from the 44th year, 33 cycles of 60 years, brings us to the year 2024. Now, 33 is super important because 33 represents the solar cycles of the calendar and the moon cycles. They match up every 33 years. So it's the two pillars. Now, here's all the Chinese years in relation to the zodiac sign in Western astrology. This is also really important so you understand how to read astrology, so that you can correlate Chinese to Western and understand what you're looking at, because they're using both, right? They're using tropical, sidereal, and Chinese, and Arabic in a way, yeah, with some of the constellations and stuff. So they're using all astrology and mixing it all together. This is why it's so confusing to figure it out. A little easier to see it like this. Okay, so I wrote them down next to each sign so you can figure out what the matching year to the zodiac in Western astrology. Dragon correlates with Aries, the crown chakra. Okay, so this is why it's such an important year, 2024, because it's the crown. Okay, so we know that this is definitely the year, okay, because there's no way that, it would be another year. It's not going to be the rabbit. Well, the rabbit is the soles of your feet. So something's going to happen in the rabbit year, I'm assuming. I think something's going to happen to Trump. And then I think the crown chakra year is 2024, because this is what's matching with Pluto. And Pluto correlates your soul. Okay, so this is why you need to understand it through this kind of format. Okay, so here they all are. We have 1976, the founding of the United States, was a fire monkey year. Now, fire is ruled by Mars, and monkey is actually Leo. And Aries is a fire sign, right? And it's the sun. But Aries, matching Chinese, is the dragon crown. So the founding of the United States, even though it was a fire monkey year, because it's a fire monkey and it's the sun, it's the dragon crown. It's correlating to the dragon crown. So we're matching even the fire monkey year in 2024, because 2024 is a dragon crown year, right? Because it's a year of the dragon. So this is how it's kind of like, it's confusing, but it does all map out. So 1904 was a wood dragon year. There was this massive world fair in St. Louis, right where these two eclipses are crossing, right? And it was also the first USA Olympics. It was in St. Louis. So I want to get into that and show you guys that. Then in 1944 was Meet Me in St. Louis, a Judy Garland movie. They cross both at the great U.S. eclipses, 2007, 2024. That's where the eclipses cross. Silvergate, Taurus. It's the snake. Taurus is the snake. It's the third eye. It's the wood monkey year, is this 1944 year, Jupiter and Leo. Okay, so it's Jupiter and the sun. This is why they made the movie Meet Me in St. Louis on this year. Now, we go into 1963, was JFK's death, was a Blackwater rabbit year. And we get another Blackwater rabbit year in 2023, which we know the number 23 is super important, right? So this is why I think they're going to mirror taking Trump out, because it has to mirror what's happened before. So, you know, this is a Mercury, Pisces, Jupiter, it's souls. This is how it's all working out to the, you know, it's like the rabbit foot. It comes back to the soul. So now, 1964 was a wood dragon year. And this is when the Beatles came to the USA. You know, they came 3 or 4 times, and they were winning. They were on top of the charts with "I Want to Hold Your Hand," and this all ties into Elvis and Beyonce and Aretha Franklin singing "Take My Hand, Precious Lord." It's grabbing the hand of God. Okay, so and then they had a New York World Fair, and guess where it was? Corona Park. Okay, it's just crazy. It's just mirroring everything. And the Unisphere sculpture monument there looks like the Yggdrasil tree. Okay. Oh, and this, I think I spelled that wrong. Yeah. Can't see it. It's so small, the writing. So now we're back at the Wood Dragon year in 2024. It's mirroring 1964, and it's mirroring the big giant World Fair in St. Louis, where these 2 eclipses are crossing, in 1904. So they knew this back then. They knew when the eclipses were crossing the United States, and they mirrored it. Because St. Louis is super important. Got to meet me in St. Louis. And you won't believe the songs she sung, right? I've mentioned this once before, the song she sang in this movie. You know, so my intuition was grabbing it before, but I had no idea it all tied in, you know, to the monkey year. The monkey year is important because it's the founding of the United States. And she actually shows the 2 monkeys in the movie when she sings the song to her little girl. Okay, so here there's lots of the world fairs, and you can see 1904 was in the United States in St. Louis, and it was the first Summer Olympics. You know, there was other ones in the United States before and after, but, you know, I'm trying to find the one that's on the Wood Dragon year, and you know, obviously this is the only one. So this is the Silver Gate. You know, the ecliptic is where the planets cross, and then you have the galactic line that comes through the Silver Gate. It makes a cross in the sky. This is why it's called the Silver Gate. And this is why they made the silver archway in St. Louis. Now, I've done videos about this before. Like, if you look from the aerial view of this whole park, it actually looks like the female organs, sexual organs. You know, they've created the feminine aspect of this gate because Isis rules the Silver Gate in Egyptian mythology. Okay, so it's a woman's gate because Taurus is ruled by Venus. Here's the poster that they used, I guess, in Paris to sell it for people to come to the United States. They have the Indian, they have kind of like a clock and the Trinity shields, and then you have the woman, right? And she represents Venus in St. Louis. Here's the poster they were just using, I guess, in the United States. And this was July 1st, 1904. The entrance was eventually torn down, but this was really cool. The entrance to the exhibition, Creation. You know, it's like a woman. It looks like Venus, you know, and then they have creation on top. So they were using the symbolism of the stars of the sky during this fair. If you didn't know, the ice cream cone debuted at the World Fair in St. Louis. That's cool. Other things that have happened in 1904, John Bull's Other Island. So we got the, you know, John Bull, Taurus. Broadway musical Little Johnny Jones and Yankee Doodle Dandy. This is a, you know, very American song, all to do with freedom. This was interesting here, the Peter Pan debut. So it's about to going to another island, right, where you're free and you're running away from Captain Hook because you're free and all the children get to go there. This debuted also in that year. And then also Times Square had its first New Year's Eve celebration. in 1904. So this, super huge, right? It's all to do with time. And in New York City, which is a lot of this freedom and this, this whole thing with, Trump's Plaza Hotel and everything, it's all to do with New York City, the Big Apple. And this was a wood dragon year. And of course, Aleister Crowley transcribes his first chapter of the Book of Law on a wood dragon year. Tesla describes the process of ball lightning formation, 1904. The importance of Meet Me in St. Louis film was because it was a film about the St. Louis World Fair in 1904. And this movie is all based around Christmas. And this is when the song Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas came out with Judy Garland. And this brings us all back to Sigillaria Day and Christmas. I feel like I've done this big giant circle. And I'm right back to where I was at the beginning of all this. 2024 or Christmas. You can go back a year or so, or a year or two when I've been doing all this, and this is where I started, was on that friggin' date. And I'm right back to it. It's just unbelievable. And this is one of their posters, and I think it looks like the cross of Jesus on the cross. It looks like that to me. Some of the songs: Meet Me in St. Louis, The Boy Next Door, Skip to My Lou, Home Sweet Home, Old Lang Syne, The First Noel, and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And of course, I didn't know the importance of that song when I looked into this video before. And they're holding the two monkeys. Okay, so this relates to 1944 is a year of a monkey, and then the founding of the United States was a year of a monkey. And she starts, speaking to her little daughter here, saying, we have to go, we're moving, and you can't take your little frozen people with us. They're frozen, the frozen men, which is the souls that don't ascend. They become statues. They're the frozen people. Okay, this movie Frozen, and always with the statue people. It's because you don't awaken. And so then she breaks into the song, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Well, what's Merry Little Christmas? It's January 6th. It's the day of the Epiphany is the little Christmas, right? It's not normal Christmas. So that's interesting as well, too, because in 2024, on Little Christmas, January 6th, Pluto moves into the same placement as it was on the founding of the United States, which has to do with your soul. Now, the original lyrics are different than the one Frank Sinatra later sang. It actually says here, someday soon we will all be together if the fates allow. Now, the fates are the three fates, right? The fates that decide the length of, the string. And there's actually, oh my God, I forgot about this. In St. Louis, in the train station, there's this massive stained glass window with the three fates in it. Oh my God, I gotta find that for you. Okay. I found it. No, here it is. I almost forgot all about this. Yeah, so this is crazy. So her song relates to the three fates, and there they are in the train station. It's unbelievable. It's so fantastic how they've put this giant puzzle together. All for us awakened souls that want to see the connections, want to connect the dots. And it's this painting which has to do with like the human brain and God reaching out with his hand. This is why I want to hold your hand and take my hand, precious Lord, and E.T., touching the finger, and then James Bond, golden finger. It's all relating to getting back to the true God. Not the God of this realm, the true God, right? That allows you to be free. So I ended up starting to watch the Christmas special that Judy Garland did with her daughter, Liza Minnelli, and her other daughter and her son that were younger. They did this Christmas special on Christmas in 1963, the year that JFK died. And the commercials that they used was contact. And it's like contact, like you're making contact. And they I never seen this, well, I must have seen it a long time ago, but this contact commercial, which is cold medicine, right? It has these teeny little time capsules that work inside, and they create the clock showing you that it's related to time, time and contact. I was just like, are you kidding me? When I started watching this, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Then they created this other commercial which has to do with contact having a cold, but it's the Wizard of Oz. Now, of course, Judy Garland was in the Wizard of Oz, but it also has to do with it, right? Because she falls asleep, in the Cassiopeia poppies, which is the Queen of Heaven, Cassiopeia, and there's snow, which is like, I'm assuming from volcanoes, it's like soot, and then they're all drowsy and they don't know where they are, and then they go off and they find that the Wizard of Oz is really just a fake guy behind a veil. It's all the same stories, and then you have the flying monkeys, right? It's like it's just the same thing all over again. It's just astrology. All these shows are just astrology mirroring back at us. So one of the other songs that was in the St. Louis, Meet Me in St. Louis movie was this trolley song. And now, of course, Rosie O'Donnell ended up singing it in The Simpsons in 1999 in Treehouse, and got the tree again, of Horror X. Well, we got the X, which is the eclipse, going across the United States. And so I looked into this, into The Simpsons, and of course, the 33rd episode is actually in 2021 this year, and it's called Duck Amuck and Rabbit Rampage. So this is funny. It's called Homer's World. And that's funny because of Melania Trump's, duck commercial, which was all to do with, transformation and, it's the swan, Trump sitting on the swan, it's just goes on. And then it has the rabbit, okay? Because the rabbit is going to be Trump. He's going to be JFK again. So April 21st, 22nd, there's the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, right? So in 1964, on April 22nd, was the New York World Fair, which was the Wood Dragon year, at Corona Park. Can you believe it? I just can't believe it. Like, it's so obvious. So this fair had this big unisphere sculpture that was mimicked from an earlier sculpture from 1938 called the Trilon Perisphere, that was to do with triangles, and they named it Trilon. But what I found really interesting with this one called the Unisphere, it had this ice wall around it, right? And this ice wall reminded me of the Yggdrasil Norse mythology tree of life. Then, of course, they had the big reflecting pool in front of it as well, just like Princess Diana's statue that just happened this week, and just like, Biden's celebration for being president, his inauguration was all in front of the Washington Monument with the reflecting pool. So it's just repetitive. This is to do with the Tree of Life and the wells and the North Wells. I've already spoken about all this, the two different wells with the Tree of Life. These are some of the exhibitions that was there. Now, 1964 all had to do with the Beatlemania, right? Now, this happened on February 9th. They came to the Ed Sullivan Show. Well, we got the 2 and the 9, so it's like 9/11. Now, the Scarab Beetle, which was the original Cancer constellation, is considered to be ruled by the sun, right? But then I'd done videos on it where it's actually following the moon cycles, where the Scarab Beetle, takes these dung balls and rolls them towards the water, and it all to do with the moon. So the beetle represents the sun and the moon. So it's interesting that, on this last Wood Dragon year, 1964, after JFK's death, they start creating Beatlemania. Okay, now it's all symbolic, right? It's the same thing over and over again. They knew the future. And I guess with the World Fair being at Corona Park, they had to put the mass on the Beatles. This is so funny. Anyhow, who would have guessed? So the Ed Sullivan Show, February 16th, like this is a week later. They go second appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, the Beatles. Okay, so you got to remember, this is where Elvis Presley took the first polio vaccine, right? Was on the Ed Sullivan Show. And so then again, Malcolm X resigns from the Nation of Islam. Golden Globes, the Cardinal. Well, we're going to the Cardinal Cross, so that's no surprise. Barbara Streisand, Days of Wines and Roses. Well, roses is your DNA, and wine is Dionysus, drinking the wine, the nectar. And Goldfinger. There we go. Well, we know where they got the word bond from. So this is to do with the body of the white tiger in Chinese astrology. Britain sets the memorial for the late president, JFK, in 1964. In his own right, John Lennon writes a book, Another World. Yeah, I'm sure that's what I feel. I used to watch that show with my mom. Oh my God, it is another world. We are living in another world. The Beatles come back again to the Ed Sullivan Show. You see how they were pushing it, right? They're really pushing the symbolism. They're saying, look, we're showing you the Beatles, the beetle, it's the moon, it's the moon. So, the subject of roses. The ground is broken at the Bush Memorial Stadium in St. Louis. That's important. Fade out, fade in opens. That's what we have to do. Like the Cheshire Cat, we have to fade in, fade out. There's the Roman Colosseum. And there it is again with the Bush Stadium in St. Louis. And this is why Aries the Crown, the Dragon, 2024 year is so important. Chinese double crown wedding banquet. You get the dragon crown. This company chose to use the name Dragon Crown. It's to do with spinal surgical devices. The yin and yang symbol represents the dragon and the phoenix. One is male, the dragon is male, and phoenix is the female. Never knew that. And the phoenix crown. This all ties into the dragon phoenix crown. The phoenix is really the rooster in Chinese astrology. Didn't know that either. Remember there was a rooster in the Truman Show, and I thought it was the Aberrax because the Aberrax Capricorn can be a rooster. So maybe it's both, but I think it's more to do with the rooster being the phoenix. So one of you amazing researcher sent me this. It was a biblical passage that we're thinking maybe could relate to the date. Like, wouldn't that be cool if the Bible told us the date of ascension, like just in the text? So if you think of John 12, 22, 24, if you think of this as like a date, December 22nd, 2024, or if you think of it like John 23, 24, if you just want to think of that as a date, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly, I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. So I'm just kind of putting it out there just to see if this date has relevance in the Bible. So even here, Hebrew 12:2224, the ascension and worship. So it's saying here, you have come to Mount Zion, which is the mountain on the Yggdrasil tree, to the heavenly Jerusalem, the city of the living God. You have come to thousands and thousands of angels in joyful assembly, to the church of the firstborn, whose names are in heaven. You have come to God, the judge of all men, to the spirit of righteous men made perfect, to Jesus, the mediator of new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel. This is the Ocean Flower Island Castle Hotel in China. And to me, this looks like DNA. This is one of the buildings that they built. And the actual island ends up looking like a fleur-de-lis, which, all relates back to France. This is the fleur-de-lis is what represents Quebec in Canada. I thought this was interesting, part of the city. It looks like two pillars, and to me, that looks like an owl in the middle. I don't know if that looks like an owl to you guys. It kind of does, like, from the one pointed angle, but it also looks like a crown, right? So I'm kind of like, okay, they've got the owl there in the crown. So I was like, oh, I better go check out where Minerva is, because we know Minerva is important because she actually is across the river looking at the Statue of Liberty, the Minerva statue. And right on the eclipse that's passing the United States, you can see the eclipse here. It's in Pisces with Mercury close by. There's the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction almost going to happen, which it happens in April 22nd. And then Minerva is in conjunction with the Pleiades on this eclipse. I was like, ooh, that's important. So when the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction happens on April 21st, the moon is right on Zavijava, which is the ascension star on the side of Virgo's left shoulder. In Chinese astrology, it's called the Supreme Palace Enclosure, Zavijava. So this is December 22nd, which is like the eve of Sigillaria Day. And the moon, you can see, is in the first house, which would be Virgo, and the rooster, which is like the phoenix, right? The moon is in the first house, and right across from it is the rabbit, which is Pisces, which is, the soles of your feet, or the rabbit foot, and Neptune is there. This is, we talked about Neptune and how the Trumps all, correlate with Neptune. And he's being the god of the storm gods and the horses. So that's like right across. It's opposing. We also have Pluto right across with a square to Mars. Mars is in Cancer, which is, it's depleted in Cancer. And, it's weakened there. So the fight is not strong, right? And it's interesting that Cancer, the moon, is the sheep. I find that kind of funny because the moon is, I do believe, where people get harvested. And I think you're a sheep if you believe that you need to float up and go to this moon ship. I also find it funny that the monkey, the moon key, like if you think of it, moon key, is the sun, is Leo, which is what activates you. So you become the key to the moon, so you don't have to go there. You don't have to become the sheep. So this is all, the layout of this Christmas, December, Sigillaria, Saturnalia festival. We have Taurus has Jupiter and Uranus, and that's the snake. Taurus is the snake, which is your third eye, right? Taurus is your third eye. It's the lateral ventricle horns in your head, and if you run your chakras, it ends up, Taurus is your third eye. But it's the snake also. So, of course, in Egyptian mythology, what do they have coming out of the third eye? A snake. So the moon happened to be on Zavijava on the conjunction of Jupiter-Uranus in April 22nd. And then, of course, December 22nd, it's back there again. Right there. It's like, it's amazing. It's on the ascension star. So that's really significant where the moon is, right? The moon is a super important part of this. So the moon is saying you can ascend. You can be free on this day. He's letting you be free. On the midnight of the 23rd, he's getting closer to the Spica star, which is the tree of life. There's a star called Chiron, right where that little X is, and that's a Chiron 42. So we have the number 42, which is like the judges, or 2-4 backwards, 24, which the Anunnaki go by. So Chiron is the teacher of how to leave this realm. He teaches Asclepius. And, you know, there's a planet, there's an asteroid Chiron, but I didn't realize there's a star. There's a few stars, and they're around this location, but I like the fact that this one has the number 42, and the moon happens to be there on the Sigillaria day. Cancer, the only constellation ruled by the moon, has a lot going on. He's got Mars there, also Minerva, the wise one, the owl, the symbol of Sophia. Athena, you know, what Athens is named after. She's also there. She's the golden woman. Right on the back of Cancer is the beehive cluster. The beehive cluster in Chinese means cumulative corpses. Yeah, it's the ghost mansion. Oh yeah. Jupiter, right in the Silver Gate on Sigillaria Day. Uranus is getting closer to the Pleiades. That's really important placement. Wow. On the wood dragon year, which represents Jupiter. Wood is Jupiter. It's amazing. Here's the two gates where you can kind of really get to see how they work. They're opposing each other in the sky. Interesting, on Sigillaria Day at the Golden Gate, the sun is there and Lilith is in conjunction, which is the woman, the divine priestess, the high priestess, which is the cardinal cross. It's to do with divine feminine energy. So this is really important. Even if you have bad feelings about Lilith, she still represents the divine feminine. The divine feminine planet is in conjunction with Osiris. So that's really like Isis and Osiris joining together, which, you know, you guys know Egyptian mythology. This is like, you know, this is what it's all about, right? They have to join and unite. Enki, he's in Aquarius, right? Aquarius is the phoenix. Saturn is there on the rain pouring out of the kumbha pot, which is like, really, that's the elixir of the gods. It's the wine, it's the nectar, it's the ambrosia. And Saturn, who rules Earth in Chinese astrology, right, is pouring it out onto the Earth. Neptune is there, right on the tail of the whale. We discussed that. And Mnemosyne is right on the Shambhala star, right? So the Shambhala is the inner earth, and Mnemosyne is the mother of the muses, and the muses are the ones you have to follow to get to Shambhala. They teach you how to sing the right song. The sirens bring you to your death. You listen to them, you get hypnotized, and you will follow them. And they will take you to your death. But the muses will free you. And they're on the Shambhala on this date. It's absolutely freaking amazing. Kamui Mentera is right on Scorpio, like at the bottom of Ophiuchus with Mercury, right? So this is all happening at the Golden Gate. Now, Kamui Mentera happens to correlate with the gods of this realm. Asahi Dake, a native Innu name for Emu Mentera, which means the playground of the gods. So we got the mountain right on Ophiuchus, right on Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Pluto, you know, it's all about Pluto, right? Pluto's about your soul, and this is right back to the same cycle as the founding of the United States. Pluto's in the same spot. So it's to do with the mountain. And this mountain, I believe, the playground of the gods, is really important. there's these totem poles that were put up in Burnaby, BC, Canada, which represents Amui Mentera. Burnaby has a twin Japanese city called Kashiro. So right in the same location is Hybris. Now, Hybris has these kind of different, depictions of him. It's the pride. J.C. Lewis wrote, Mere Christianity, it has to do with pride and being anti-God state. Now, this whole anti-God state seems to come from wanting to be immortal. So this ancient Greece, which is pre-Christianity, what is common to these examples of breaching the limits, as the Greeks believed that the fates, right, the ones at St. Louis, has assigned each being with a particular area of freedom and an area that eventually gods could not breach. Okay, so the gods couldn't get to you because you're in this location of freedom. Because the gods, use you in this realm. Okay, the goddess Hybris has been described as having incentive encroachments upon the rights of others. So it's interesting. There's like a bipolarity going on here. In Christianity, in the Old Testament, the Hybris or the Hybris is overweening pride, super callousness or arrogant, often resulting in fatal retribution. So going back to the Greek again, a common way of the Hybris was committed was when a mortal claimed to be better than the gods in a particular skill or attribute. So it's like kind of boasting that you're greater than the gods, and there's this kind of arrogance to you. Now, but there's also like, they can't touch you. You end up getting to a place where you're untouchable. Needless to say, 2024 is going to be extremely special. So, I found this band, Amarante, Meet Me in the Woods. I love this song. You have to go listen to it. And he's got a really good video where you're basically jumping through the veil constantly into different realms. And I love this where they're just walking towards the ring, right? It's like the Coke ring that we talked about, the Lord of the Rings, and he's going to jump through. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I just wanted to let you know that you got to connect to nature and stay grounded, try to stay in bliss. I know there's a lot going on out there and it's crazy madness, but for me, I think everybody's kind of picked their path by now. There's no use fighting with people or kind of convince them otherwise. They've picked their path, and you know who they are and who they aren't, and you can feel it just by being around them. So the whole key is just to stay in bliss, right? And just to enjoy the show. But I think this is pretty scripted out, and I think it's pretty slam dunk that this is the timeline and this is all being created for us to see. So I wanted to show you guys that I created a labyrinth in my woods, in my circle, and it ends up coming out to 7 kind of lines, which is the 7 planets, and I will walk you through it one day. I'll go out in the woods and show it to you guys, but I'm doing that and walking my labyrinth. I'm trying to keep up with my yoga and enjoying the woods because it's summer and it's so amazing. And I just want to let you know I thank you for all your support, and thanks for sharing stuff with me and writing comments. I really appreciate it. And it's getting more clear and clear that this is just an awesome ride, that we just gotta ride the wave. So if anybody wants a reading, you can have a natal chart reading or your 3 Saturn returns, let me know. And also I have ascension guide, for if you want to just focus on your body and working on all the different things you can do to help you stay at theta state. And I've put a guide together for that. And I hope to hear from you guys. So I'm getting all my stuff gathered for the starting the courses, and that's getting exciting because I feel like I'm ready to do it now. I really feel complete in understanding how everything's working to the extent that I can help teach you. I know there's tons more to learn. Like you could focus on Chinese astrology, I'm sure, for a lifetime. There's no way I can master that, but at least I can understand how it relates to Western astrology and share that with you and how it all relates to the Kabbalah tree of life and everything like that. So look forward to hearing from you guys. Take care. Missed you all.